So this is a series of videos to talk about my experience at Central. This is my personal experience. I'm not speaking for anyone else. And I'm not denying that other people will have good experiences, but mine certainly wasn't. I started Central School of Speech and Drama on the drama therapy course in October of 2021. So we were just coming out of COVID. I was able to get a flat fairly easily. I had to work up until 2 days before starting the course because of financial reasons. So I was very tired. I couldn't shake off the feeling that something wasn't quite right. Everyone was like, oh, it must be so exciting. And I just had this horrible feeling of dread. Anyway, in the first term, I was mismedicated. I was given a sedative to help me sleep because I'd had to do a series of night shifts in the summer. Even though I did ask the company I was working for at the time not to, they said you have to. So they reduced the number of nights I did, but I ended up being misprescribed with a sedative because I couldn't sleep after working those nights. And I was never told it was a sedative. So this meant that I was chronically exhausted in my classes. I could barely stay awake sometimes. I was also really worried about money, so I transferred with the company that I was working for, and I would work weekends because I had no choice. I did not enjoy the first term. I found it very difficult. And about halfway through the term, I had my disability information leaked. Whilst the school did apologise, I do think it would have been fair to have given me the option to either leave financial free or to have been given compensation for what happened to me because it caused a lot of distress. I felt so much shame from having my disability information leaked. I remember the day after, I could not go to class. I felt so ashamed. I couldn't face anyone. So I emailed the tutor to let them know that I wasn't in the right headspace to go. I got contacted by the course leader at the time, and he arranged to meet me on the Thursday, but then he never turned up for the tutorial. And then I got a message a few hours later saying, oh, I'm sorry, my son had COVID, so I couldn't come to your tutorial, something along those lines. Now, I do appreciate that things happen, but it would not have killed him to send one sentence to me to say, we're going to have to rearrange, sorry, a family emergency's come up. It would have taken 1 minute. I made sure, I just went, oh, I'm so sorry to hear that. Is your son okay? Yeah, he's fine. Yeah, I just had to work out which kids to separate when. Okay. So, yeah, and anyway, we did have the tutorial, but I was so angry. I explained everything that was going on. Another student had made a comment about old people smelling. Now, my parents are quite, especially my dad, he's kind of elderly, he's over 65. So for me, I found that very offensive and upsetting. And he just turns around and goes, well, that should be for group process. But I'm so angry. He's like, really, really ground yourself. Bearing in mind that he's turned up to his tutorial late, that he arranged, why am I going to ground myself? And all these things at Central are starting to happen. Fortunately, a few weeks later, I ended up also getting bacterial gastroenteritis, which landed me in hospital. I do feel like I ended up being in such a depleted state. I do think that affected my studies. And I think because of the stress of having my disability information leaked, I definitely feel like it wore down my immune system even more. So I had to go into hospital. I spent less than 24 hours there, actually. I was just kept in A&E for ages and given IV fluids and prescribed antibiotics. but the information that I was given kept changing every sort of hour. Oh, we're going to admit you. Oh, we're not going to admit you. So I stupidly sent an email to the whole course team saying I wouldn't be in that week, which was true. I couldn't be in that week. I was too unwell to go. And then it dawned on me on the Thursday that actually, when I reflected during that term, my reasonable adjustments were not being put into place. Partly this was because of a delay, because the disability team did not send over the information to the course team, but also like the course team weren't really adhering to any of those reasonable adjustments. Anyway, they decide to forward this email without my consent to the course leader and sort of deputy course leader. I kid you not, without my consent, which was ridiculous. So anyway, I end up going in the Monday following because I feel a bit better. I'm scared. I'm not too worried about being contagious anymore. I follow doctor's advice to sort of isolate for 7 days. And the deputy course leader comes up to me and goes, I think you need to go home. No questioning of, are you sure you're okay to be here or anything like that? I need to go home anyway. I just looked at her and said, I'm okay. I'm not contagious. I want to be in class. I'll speak to you about this later. She goes, yeah, we can talk about it. We can talk about it after class. Anyway, I don't speak to her after class because as far as I'm concerned, why should I have a conversation with her when I've been cleared to go back to class? So anyway, they decide to also schedule a meeting between me, the course leader, and I don't think it was like the head of student experience. It might have been the head of student experience. I think that was his job title at the time, for sort of the first few days in the holidays, so we can discuss things. I'm assured by someone else who works in student experience that my place is safe, that it's going to be fine, whatever. But I just feel like, for me at that point, there are so many things that have gone wrong that actually I'm probably not going to have a good meeting. So we get to the Monday. And sure enough, I'm accused of not engaging. I'm told, perhaps a break in studies would be good. Personally, I did not like their response at all. So this is, and I just turn around and I explain, actually, I've been unwell. Because bearing in mind, how can you say to someone, you haven't engaged with your studies when they've been unwell? Like, that's bonkers. They've been unwell. Like, at least give them the benefit of the doubt. Anyway, the meeting gets closed. It's agreed that I will be put on a health and wellbeing plan and it's also fitness to practice because of bacterial gastroenteritis. I kid you, which anyone could get. We don't know if it was from some dodgy chicken that I had or whether it's from a toilet, but anyone could get that. I'm put into fitness to practice as a student in my first term before I've even submitted any work for bacterial gastroenteritis, potentially. Oh, and mismedication management, which was not my fault. So that concludes term 1.